Hello, I'm the Sugar Ray, and today we're in the kitchen for a little bit of philosophy. And by philosophy, I mean me disagreeing with everyone. Free will exists. In his Crash Course video, Hank Green starts out talking about free will with Oedipus and oatmeal. And this seems to be the founding of everything. Sorry, I might be eating a little, because I also have an Oedipus. I mean, Oedipizza. This is my first meal for the day, and it is garbage, oven-made, store-bought pizza. I have eggs, oatmeal, there's everything in the fridge, but I chose the garbage pizza about 2 o'clock because that's how I roll. No, that's the choice that I made. I would have liked to have breakfast. I would have liked to not sleep in, but I didn't. I had a choice to wake up at 6 and then go back to bed. A couple of weird influences out there for determinism, i.e. that free will doesn't exist. They all have like a string in common in that they're made by things that believed in gods and deities and the fates. Pulls on some old philosophy, right? Aristotle and whatever. So let's just talk about one of their examples. One of their examples is Oedipus, a man who is foretold in a prophecy that he will murder his father and marry his mom. You know the story. His dad leaves Oedipus in the woods. Oedipus gets adopted. Oedipus learns of the prophecy from another person. So Oedipus decides to try to ghost on this prophecy, kills a guy on the road that turns out to his dad, and then marries that man's widow, which is his wife. Oedipus marries his mom. This is a story done from this perspective that there are gods and fates and prophecies that straight up control stuff. This should not be our founding for philosophy. So to me, philosophy should be about asking questions and understanding things. And it is not like an exact science. We fold out sociology, a study of society, a study of how we interact. That's with like this embargo experiment, the shock wave experiment, marketing research. There's people that try to determine the best way to get people to buy or use a product. That is all applied science and sociology. None of them are like depending on fate. They're trying to get factors for everyday life so that people choose to buy their products. Determinism may seem like an answer to that, but it seems like just shutting the door on all possibilities. Like, no, it's because it's determined. It's because God said it. It's because of the fates. It's because of the physical world around you. Determinism seems to be a lot of just throwing in the towel on a lot of complex thought. For example, determinism says cause and effect. Something causes you to do a thing. No, that's a lot of assumption. That's a lot of assumption. One, that the force of gravity making something roll down the hill makes you like run from it. You can step to the side, you can stop over it, you can stop like the boulder. There's choice in that. There's a chance that you'll be unaware. Maybe you don't see boulders. Maybe you're boulder blind. There's a reason why scientists try to do a lot of making a thing smaller or as controlled as possible so they can see what factors affect other things. Not that they can't take in a lot of factors to determine something huge like climate change, but that this philosophy was done well before that, and even to the point where determinism assumes that everything in the physical world that happens is because of something else and has to be because of cause and effect. But they don't understand things like quantum mechanics, where quantum mechanics change or are chaotic depending on how they're observed or how like they're applied in nature. So even among their everything in the physical world has a determined thing and can happen because of a cause, there is this randomness that they don't and can't account for. I don't think it is a fault of philosophy, but more a fault of people, where they hear like one part of a thought or an idea of the way things work and just apply it everywhere. Like how survival of the fittest actually means like survival of the good enough, and not every apex predator is there because they were the best one, just because they were able to, breed a little bit or even accidentally and just are able to just go on and live good enough. People will make philosophical arguments based off, we're the best, so we deserve this, and then they'll use that as an excuse for some really crappy behavior. It's just crappy logic because that's not survival of the fittest means. I am very suspicious of people that draw major conclusions off of myths and fairy tales, like Oedipus or different stories in the Bible, and say that this is like how it has to be and this is us. Mainly because those are fictional stories. And not just fiction, those are fiction with this worldview behind them, and they were built to prove this aspect correct. You can't use them as proof for it. They were assuming that the aspect of fate exists, so you can't take that story to say, oh, this is why fate exists. Even examples that say that we are controlled. So Inspiring Philosophy has a video up that says Case for Free Will, which is where I got some of the meta stuff, but like, this is not a thing that I feel. It's a thing that sets off several red flags for me in how it's presented and how it is proofed. So in Inspiring Philosophy, their video about free will, in order to illustrate free will, he uses a clip from The Truman Show, when Truman has to meet a client and has to take a ferry to see them, but doesn't get on the boat because of the crippling fear of the sea that he got when the director had his father tragically die in front of him to fake that. It's all fake. Like, The Truman Show is, in a sense, all about free will. Like, even that, though, that is a movie about a man escaping from these choices and rejecting the complex reality that he thought he was a part of. All that being said, there is a way that you can control people, or that people can be controlled, and that is through a cultivated identity, through appealing to their mind. Peter Coffin does a whole lot about this. I think I might have touched upon it on a note. I will admit that it is really hard to break from a set pattern or break from society, but that happens all the time. Like right now we're in a capitalist society, and in that there are advertisements everywhere, and advertisements are made to sway your opinions of what to buy. And the thing is, people assume that they don't persuade them, but advertisements have been focus tested and researched to make sure they do affect you. So a person that doesn't think that they'll be affected is actually affected more by persuasion, especially if something is very persuasive and the person watching it assumes that they are already correct. Then they'll think whatever they're persuaded to was already in their idea and is already the right thing to do. These are choices, right? Just because you have a choice doesn't mean that your free will doesn't exist. It just cuts down a little bit on your free will. And this also gets into a bit of like political philosophy, right? Saying that you have a free will, but it's limited by the choices they give you. Like you say you can vote for your government and you have power, but in reality, there's two major parties that control pretty much who gets elected, though. I'd say on the Republicans, they're a little bit better at having something the people actually want than the Democrats, considering the Democrats can hammer through their choice. But the entire system with the Electoral College can still hammer through a specific choice. So that's crazy, right? But there are people that choose alternatives. They can leave the country. They can rebel. Maybe there's a revolution to change the country. There's so many things to do, but it's still encompasses free will. It's this struggle between free will and a false choice and fighting the system. Karl Marx wrote against capitalism, but he probably wouldn't have if it would have functioned correctly, maybe? Like if capitalism was as good as we like to assume it is, Karl Marx would not have even seen problems with it. But he did, and seeing those problems, observing the difference, made him to criticize capitalism, and then made people think of other ways of doing things and organizing government so that people actually have freedom and good quality of life. So we're in this weird kind of part where it's possible to limit someone's freedom and limit someone's choice, but still have them feel like they're making choices, but also how everything is affected by everything, such as how we are still living some of the repercussions of the French Revolution and the American Revolution, in that how we organize our government and how defensive we are of one type of system from another. But it's in those third options, those none of the above choices, that really throws a rock in determinism, a wrench in determinism. But I chose option D for that metaphor. Like, there are people that jump off buildings, see hallucinations, react to things that don't exist, or probably don't exist. Do they have a freer will, or is their mind imposing those things, make them all the more trapped because they can't do normal things like walk or be trusted to be on a roof without jumping off? Saying that those people are determined by their brain chemistry, which is a physical thing, doesn't completely understand it. Pen and ink are physical things, but that doesn't make a story what is physical. You can arrange those pen and inks in whichever way possible, and instead they inhabit an idea. We react off ideas, which are strictly speaking not physical, even though they are held by physical objects like pen and paper or like brain and electro signals. It seems like a lot harder to stick to this hard deterministic idea, and also functionally irrelevant, because there's always that one, there's always the outlier, there's always what's not accompanied for in our imaginations, in how we grow and how we evolve, in what we learn and what we do. So I'd say don't stick up for determinism, because it doesn't matter and is functionally useless. Thanks! Hi, thanks for watching. I was the Sugar Ray. If you want to see more about determinism and this philosophy, you can check out, Crash Course, which has the ideas that I disagree with strongly, or you can watch, what's the other one? Inspiring Philosophy. And I haven't seen many more videos by them because I just looked for that one, but I do like that one video. If you like this video, subscribe. I do video essays like this. Normally my video essays are about a piece of media or fiction, which I've been working on a couple of bigger ones, and it's never come in. Like, I've been working on it for like 2 weeks, but if you looked at the physical work that I've done on it, it isn't very much. I've mostly been thinking about it and processing it. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Check out my Patreon and give this a thumb up and comment about how you just love determinism and nothing you do is your fault. Or, how I've mischaracterized determinism and we can still have fault with things. And choice is still determined, even choices that are not given to you or are simply the best. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom.